Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we please have roll call?
Yes, you may. Councilmember Kelly.
Present.
Councilmember Grineal.
Present.
Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember McCafferty.
Here.
Councilmember Armstrong.
Here.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Here.
Mayor Miller.
Oh, I'm here too.
Thank you. And our town attorney Andrew is present remotely.
Hi,
Hello,
Andrew. You woke up. Good job, buddy. Hey, number 2, introductions, presentations, and proclamations. We have none. We'll do call to public, please.
Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. The total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. I did not receive any public comment cards. Was there anybody here that wanted to speak?
All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Current events, summaries, and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events. If listed below, there may also be a presentation on information requested by the mayor and council, and questions may be answered. No action will be taken. Status reports by mayor and council regarding current events. I'd just like to say Happy New Year. Anything else on this side, you guys?
No. Not at the moment.
How about over here? Nope. All right, we'll move on to town manager.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just wanted to give you a quick update on our police building progress. As of today, the project's about 10% complete. Actually, if you have the engineer tell you, it'll be 11% complete. They have completed the building pad and the footings. Right now, they're working on the underslab utilities. The retaining wall on the west side is underway, and also have curbs and sidewalks going on. As you'll see, there's a lot of progress on the driveway over here. The utility sleeves have been installed, and they actually are planning to pave tomorrow. And they expect it to be open by the end of the month. So looking forward, they are scheduling pouring the building concrete slab at the end of the month. Right now it's scheduled for the 28th, depending on weather. And the masonry for the walls is scheduled to arrive at the end of the month as well. The 31st right now is when that's scheduled for. The only issue right now is a supply chain issue, and that's with the electrical components. And they say about 40 weeks out on that kind of thing. I asked them how that might affect the project, but they think that the electrician can get in and get things ready and get things done. And so when those things do get in, they'll be able to get them installed right away. So as we're looking now, the project's running smoothly and should complete as scheduled April of next year. And with any luck, it may be early. So
Cool.
thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. We're moving on to a consent agenda. All those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Would anybody on this side, on my left here, like to remove anything? Nope. On the right?
No.
All right, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion we accept consent agenda items A, B, C, and D as written.
Motion made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made, 2 seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're moving on to action items. The council may vote to recess a public meeting and hold an executive session on any item on this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.0383 for the purpose and discussion or consultation for legal advice for the town attorney. Executive sessions are not open to the public and no action may be taken in executive session. Item A, consideration and possible action to accept the comprehensive annual financial report and the annual expenditure limitation report for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021, as prepared by Henry and Horde LLP, Certified Public Accountants. And I'm told that Brian Hemmerly is here. Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council. Again, my name is Brian Hemmerly. Thank you so much for having me. I love coming up to Chino Valley every year. It's amazing how much this community grows. I'm here to report out the financial audit for the June 30, 2021 fiscal year. So each one of you should have received the comprehensive annual financial report. It's quite substantive. Really, there aren't any major changes to report in the CAFR this year. Our audit did render a clean opinion, what we call an unmodified opinion, on the financial statements. What we do is we make sure the statements are materially stated correct, and we give reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance. The difference being, if it was absolute, we'd have to test every transaction at the town. That would take months. What we do is we test controls, internal controls. We observe them. We walk through them. We do substantive testing of transactions using analytical procedures and sampling, that is statistically valid sampling. And then we render our opinion. We had no difficulties with management this year, no uncorrected misstatements with management. Everything we found, they were willing and did post those journal entries to make sure they were corrected. So clean opinion on the CAFR. We also rendered a clean opinion on your compliance with grants, contracts, laws, and regulations. You do have a number of grants. You've got, the federal government is giving out quite a bit of money lately. In fact, just recently, I'm not sure if Joe's already spoken to you about this, the ARPA money that you received that's sitting in your CAFR's unearned revenue at the end of June, which you'll be able to recognize during 2022's fiscal year, that can now be used up to $10 million for pretty much any general government type of expenses, regardless if you had lost revenue in the past because of the pandemic. So we give a clean opinion on that as well. And there were no issues or findings related to the compliance. You didn't have what we call a single audit. The federal government requires a single audit when you spend over $750,000 of federal grant money in 1 year. You didn't quite make that threshold this year. I imagine in 2022, you have over $2 million in ARPA money. You will hit that threshold next year, so we will have to do an audit, a specific audit just for that money, that grant funding money. So that should be to come in the next year. With that, the only other thing to report out is your expenditure limitation report. Your voters approved the 24 million limitation this year. You're at about 17.9 million in the expenditure limitation report, so you're well under that limit. That's again required by state statute to make sure you stay under that limit. And we had a clean opinion on that as well. And it was filed with the Auditor General of the state already. And I believe that is it. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
I just have one minor. Was this a remote audit, or were you on site at all for any of this?
You know, we threaded the needle this year with our audits, with our cities and towns. We came out, I believe it was right around September, October, and we were here for a whole week. We met with the mayor. We interviewed him. That is something I do want to mention to each and every one of you. We are available to talk to any of you at any time throughout the whole year, but especially during the audit. If you have any concerns, we want to hear them. We're only required by our standards to talk to at least one of you. It tends to be the mayor at the time. But yes, we were here for an entire week like we usually do. We do sometimes come out in the summer as well to do some walkthroughs of your internal control structures and some tested controls. And I think this year we did do that one remote through like Zoom and Microsoft Teams.
And then the last question is, during this, do you randomly select departments and reconcile their credit card statements with the bank statements to ensure appropriate spending and all that?
We have done that specific test that you just mentioned in the past. We rotate those tests every so often. This year, the test we did was what's called a Benford's analysis. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of what that is. So Benford was a mathematician, and he said the 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digit, all the way through 9 would occur naturally in nature so many times, percentage of time. So we take all your expenditures for the year, and we make sure that there isn't any fraudulent activity occurring using Benford's law. If anything stuck out as like the 7 digit, we would dig into your 7 digit transactions and see if we can find any fraudulent activity that way. But we have looked at credit cards, and while testing expenditures throughout the year, we just normally will pull credit card statements because some of those expenditures we usually do it by GL line, so account line item. So if one in there is a credit card expenditure, then we will end up getting the statement through that and making sure it's approved and being reviewed by the appropriate department head.
Thorough report. I actually read this thing. I know. Someone suggested I need counseling.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Great.
Any other questions? Okay, how about a motion?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I make a motion. We accept the comprehensive annual audited financial report and the annual expenditure limitation report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021, as prepared by Henry and Horn LLP Certified Public Accountants.
I'll second that since I read it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6B, consideration and possible action to amend the Town of Chino Valley Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 154, by moving Section 3.12 SR-0.16, single-family residential, and placing it in the newly created Section 3.20, out-of-date districts. You're not Will.
No, I'm not.
It says Will right here.
I know. So the division of work is that I write these and Will puts them in the system for
Gotcha.
me.
Gotcha.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council. Lori Lineberry, your Development Services Director. And tonight, you're solving two issues that came up really early in my tenure here. The first one was the software issue. Thank you so much for that. That will help my inspectors be a lot more efficient, help us line up with how the county does their stuff. So contractors that use the county and us have the same system, that my inspectors can use their iPads out in the field again. It will reduce the number of errors that we have over the counter and a lot of the fixes that we had to do with the system that we chose to replace citizen service. So thank you. Thank you for that. So this next one is one that showed up really pretty early, and it wasn't from applicants. I heard it from grumblings in the audience when I attended council meetings and when I was at planning commission meetings. And what I heard was, why are we using this district when you read the code, it says you're not supposed to use it? So I made sure that I read the code, and codes are written so that the very first thing that you read is a purpose statement. And if you get sued over something in your code and you have a land use judge, the first thing they'll do is they'll look at the purpose statement of your ordinance. And so that, of course, was the first thing I read, and it says, gee, you are not supposed to use this anymore. And so I asked, well, what are we doing? What are we doing? Oh, well, this is how we've been doing it. I don't think we should do that. I don't think that was what we were supposed to do. So we went down a pathway of taking pieces apart and figuring out what was going on and figuring out a way that we could keep this district for the areas that currently have this zoning, because they need to have the rules for them active still for them, but not allow any new cases. And so what we came up with was actually physically moving this from our active districts to a new place. We had originally wanted to put it in the non-conforming section. The attorneys said, well, we would rather have you do it another way. So we did another, which was fine with me. We just didn't want it in our active zoning districts. So we created an out-of-date zoning districts, and we put the framework in so that if we have any other districts that we want to move, we can move them here. Now, what this does is it doesn't eliminate it. I know that I've heard concern that if we move it here, it's gone forever. It's not gone forever. It's still in your code. If we choose to bring it back, we just take it and move it back where we took it from. It's easy. If and when we move it, it won't be called SR 0.16. Anything under an acre needs to be the square footage of the lot.
And so it would be a 7,000 square foot lot district. We're working right now with the Planning Commission on half acre and quarter acre, and they have made a recommendation that we will bring back to them in February for them to make a recommendation to you on. And so they're looking at 12,000 square foot lots and 24,000 square foot lots. But that'll come to you after they've made their recommendation. So when the code was put in place, there was also a subcommittee created to update it. And one of the provisions of the UDO subcommittee was to create districts that allow you to have lot sizes under an acre. Because at that point, they recognized that we didn't really have any districts to do that. So we are working on that with the half and quarter acre. And when we get the general plan done, I am anticipating a number of districts, new districts that are going to come forward, and there will be probably a number of sizes that are less than an acre. But it will be districts that will be designated for specific areas in town. Right now, the general plan is super broad, and you can have any number of districts really close to each other, and there's nothing that really discerns where it's appropriate to have higher density versus heavy commercial. I mean, it's just this mix. And so the goal with the general plan is to help figure out what areas are appropriate for higher density residential, lower density residential, where should we have commercial, and make sure that they're separate. Now, we'll probably have a mixed use district as well, so that you can have, the old European style where you have the store underneath and the owner lives up above. I mean, there'll be a lot of creative things that we will bring forward, but that's after the general plan is done. So our code amendment today is moving this SR 0.16 district into an area that's basically an out of date, out of commission, on hold, pause location.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How about over here? Any questions on this thing?
I love it.
Eric? Lauren? How
So-
about over here?
I
Fine
do.
with me.
I do. Would it take a council vote to bring it out of the zoning, out of the section 3.20 in the future?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is the intent, as we move forward with the new general plan, to eliminate the 7,000 square foot altogether from the town,
No,
other than those pre-existing?
no.
Okay, so this is I'm in absolute agreement with everything on this. My only concern is, at the best, and I was talking to Aaron about this, about when would be the next or earliest, if everything went perfect, when would be the earliest the new general plan would be approved and ratified? We're talking at the earliest, March 2024.
Unless we have a special election.
That would be the special election, March of 2024. Now, because there's only 4 dates. And we're assuming 18 months for this, which would put you June 2023.
Sorry, I didn't bring that sheet with me. Didn't
Yeah.
think you were going to talk about elections.
Yeah, no, but I'm just looking at it. So we're talking 24 months. Okay, that's fine. But we don't know what's going to happen with the makeup of this body in 24 months. And we could be potentially taking out a tool that the future body won't allow back in. And I think that the zoning district, although I would be disingenuous if I said I really like this district, I don't. But I see an absolute need for it based on work age available housing in the future. It's absolutely critical. I talked to the school officials and I talked to doctors and all these people, and they're all saying there's no affordable housing in the Tri-Cities area anymore. And
That
Chino
is
was the
absolutely
last
correct.
holdout. And I don't like the way it's been used with the medium density definition. I agree 100%. I saw that on the P&Z for 3 years. But I see it as a tool that hopefully the general plan will be very specific about. We'll allow it here, we'll allow it there, wherever there is. But if we take this out and we put it out there, in the future, we're taking a tool that we have to hope that the future council over 2 years from now is going to agree to put back in place. And if they don't, we've just right now, today, taken a tool away from us. So what I was suggesting is we could potentially modify the purpose to effectuate exactly what you're trying to do without requiring a future council vote. simply by articulating it, that the new purpose of it, when it would be used for, and it's understood it wouldn't be used until the new general plan is ratified or voted on and ratified, or approved and then ratified by the citizens.
Okay, so you're assuming that new tools will not come.
We're assuming there's a lot of presumptions that it's going to be approved in the future. And I would rather in my opinion, I would rather take positions of protecting tools that we might need in the future while putting them on pause now. And after consulting with legal, there is a mechanism that we can do that. So we're achieving the same results without having to depend on what a future council will look like and it maybe or maybe not approve.
So, and the tool is?
Andrew, do you want to help me out with this one on the language? I mean, we talked about it, but I can't remember exactly, and I left the notes at home, unfortunately.
Yeah, just for the benefit of the council, the conversation we had was essentially, what would be a way that you could keep it where it is without having it move to an obsolete district. The way to do that is just to tweak the purpose statement to essentially frame that if and when the council approved a general plan that had that zoning district in it, and if the general plan land use map actually allotted space for that district to be utilized, then that district would be able to be used once again, kind of fired back up. Understanding, of course, that a future council could as easily eliminate that language as they could refuse to bring it back from our obsolete district area. A future council might decide that they don't want 7,000. They might go to, a 6,000 square foot lot that's kind of common in a lot of cities and towns. I mean, there's absolutely no guarantees that the future council won't have a different view than the current council. And so, you can make that tweak that would change the way that we approach this, but it's still the same basic problem. We still are in a position where we're having a zoning district that should not be used for a period of time, and that's at least 2 more years, and may never come back, frankly, depending upon what the general plan looks like, because it's going to have a consultant recommend something to you all. You will go through the public hearing process. You will get feedback from the public, feedback from P&Z. Then you'll adopt whatever final product you see fit, and then it'll go to the voters for ratification, which is normally a rubber stamp. But City of Scottsdale tell us that that's not necessarily the case, and that their general plan failed in its last election. So there are plentiful ways in which a future council could change the rules of the game from a way that you all might intend. This is the question to me was, is there a way that we can use a moratorium? And moratorium is not under Arizona law available to us. So the best I could come up with was just a different purpose statement. I think Lori's right. One of the first things that we always look at is what's the purpose of the district, and if the council as a whole wants to go in that direction, we can figure out a way to craft some different language there. But it would require putting this on hold for another meeting, and then we would come back to you again, and most likely go back to P&Z again, because they would need to weigh in on what would be essentially a different approach. So just so that everybody had the benefit of the entire conversation, long-winded answer to a short question.
Yeah. So, fellow council, I am absolutely in agreement with the whole principle of everything we're trying to do. My only concern is that often government, whether it's at the municipal or the federal, we think now, and without what are the long-term ramifications. I'm thinking, how can we achieve what we need to now, at the same time preserve what we might need for tomorrow? So I just don't like, it's easy to take away, it's harder to add in government work, generally speaking. So if we preserve it to where it can be used, the zoning district can be used under the new general plan, whenever that's due, but at the earliest, I'm figuring March of 2024, best case scenario, then we don't need, then it's immediately after it's ratified, it's an available zoning district. If the Development Services finds a need to change the name from 7,000 to that, We're just abolishing and creating the same thing. We're not, we're not having to add one. It's already in place. We're just renaming it basically, which is not a problem. That makes a lot of sense too. But I'm not opposed to accepting it the way it is. I just think we should be a little bit more forward thinking and saying, let's put measures in so that we don't have to approve it being used later. We can do that here now after the new general plan's been approved. And at the same time, we're not using it. We're essentially making a moratorium on this zoning district. So we're achieving all the goals while protecting that district in the future without knowing who's going to be up here. We don't know what's going to happen in 2 years. And
Yeah, I agree with you, but we don't know what's going to happen next week.
agreed.
And we're not actually taking the tool away. It's just going in limbo, right?
Requiring council approval later.
Yeah. And we don't know that the new master plan's not going to say no 7,000 square foots at all.
Right, but then that would be consistent with, in my mind, it would be consistent with the purpose statement where we say it would be articulated in the general plan, in that available district. If it's not articulated, then it wouldn't be available.
Okay,
I'll chime in here.
go ahead.
Okay, so every decision that we make up here and vote on, we never come at it, at least in my opinion, as a we are an end-all be-all. This is not, we're going to vote on this because we don't know what someone's going to do 10 years down the road, because that's not our place. Our place is to advise and vote on what is before us. And I asked Lori for these numbers because I understand your concern. But currently, we have 1,376 lots that are vacant, that are already designated .16, and we have 759 lots that are constructed. And total potential lots for .16 in the town limits is 2,437. So I personally don't see a need to move or change this, to put a hold on it for 2 years for the new general plan, because there's 2 years to build out 2,437 homes on .16 acres. I'm complete.
So you're saying you don't see a reason to change where we're at?
I'm in favor of voting for this, yes, the way it is. The way we discussed in study sessions, moving the .16 as recommended.
Okay.
Did this go through P and Z?
Yes, there was a recommendation from P&Z to approve
Okay,
this.
I was looking through paperwork. What was their vote?
It was 6-0 because the chairman was hunting.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to Chino.
Did he get one?
Yeah, all three of them got
He was upset he wanted to be here, but he said, I really want to go hunting. And I said, we're with you.
All right. Any other statements, questions on this side?
No.
Any more on this side?
It's there. We've been using it in error, put it in out of district.
Okay.
Hey,
Danny?
Mayor, one other quick technical,
I can't find you. Oh, there you are.
one other quick technical thing. After Lori's staff put together the report, we made a modification to the ordinance to actually change the name of it to obsolete districts. So if you see an inconsistency, that's because we made that modification and then didn't let Lori know that we did, so that she didn't have a chance to change her report to match. But substantively, it's the same thing with P and Z. We just,
And that's what this is? Is that correct?
yep, that's what's in front of you. The ordinance in front of you has all the changes that we made.
Okay.
So it's called out of date. It's not
No, it's
Yeah,
called
obsolete.
obsolete now.
obsolete.
Obsolete.
I liked out of date because it felt like it could come back. And obsolete sounded like it's in a trunk and we're done.
But what's old is new. That's always the way it works. Right?
Except for age.
Okay. Can we have a motion, please?
I will make a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-909 regarding the amendment to the Town of Chino Valley Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 154, by moving Section 3.12 SR-0.16 single-family residential and placing it into the newly created Section 3.20 out-of-date districts.
Second.
Wow, we got a
Wow,
motion
that was
in
a lot of
3
seconds.
seconds. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm not gonna oppose it.
Okay, Motion carries. Mr. Turner.
If we're all done, I make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, motion
Well,
made.
that was a quick. that's a-
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
All in favor?
it.
Aye. Good night. Bye.
See ya.
That went well. That adjournment.
Yeah. Boy, this mask has got me going.
Sarah, I got a note. Or